So there are a lot, and I mean a lot of tabletop war games out there, and no, it's not the 11 other game systems just under GW. You have games with just as rich a history like BattleTech, or the grim darkness of 40k but more medieval sci-fi fantasy of Trench Crusade. Okay, what is the setting of Trench Crusade? I'm not really sure. And there are many more, but only a few ever make it into the backs of our heads. So with 40k just getting even more expensive, and also me hearing that knights are now going to be $200 per model, I figured it's time to talk about the other options out there that are not GW. So let's talk about it. But welcome back everyone, it's me, the Warhammer complainy guy, Revan/Handy, destroyer of wallets, and maker of terrible financial decisions. So first, before everyone decides to crucify me in the comments down below, thanks for the engagement by the way, yes, I know some of these games are skirmish games and not the army games we're used to, like the multiple IPs under GW's umbrella, and frankly, who cares? I just want to talk about some of the other miniature war games I'm interested in or already own. First, I guess let's talk about BattleTech, which is easy to talk about because I've done it before and it's tabletop game number 1 technically, because my first minis I ever painted were BattleTech minis. So the best way to describe BattleTech, since a lot of people ask if it's a sci-fi simulator game, well, yesn't. The best way I've seen a lot of people explain it that's hilarious is that BattleTech is a historical war game set in a future that doesn't exist yet, or just Game of Thrones in space. Because everything that happened in our history happened in BattleTech's history, along with the whole Game of Thrones-esque stories of betrayals and great houses and or families fighting amongst themselves, along with the infighting among the clans that followed the clan invasion, and then the inner sphere, which is just pretty much all of BattleTech. BattleTech's game system has seen little to no change in its 40-year history, along with the core rules being free online. Unlike someone, it's a paper simulator, but wait for it, flex sheets. Since we all have supercomputers in our pockets, this takes a lot of the hassle of paper simulator out of the equation and it automates it. Not just for you, but also your opponent, so you're playing tabletop simulator and IRL at the same time. There's also Alpha Strike, which is meant to appeal to the more casual wargamer, because you don't have to deal with this, instead you deal with this. Much simpler and not as complicated, and also games are a lot faster. But like Warhammer, you paint miniatures, but you don't have to build them. That is, unless you want the classic BattleTech experience, so you can still get pewter miniatures from Iron Wind Metals. But if you don't want the hassle of dealing with pewter miniatures, just go with the Catalyst Games Lab minis because they're plastic and also in one piece. But like metal, you do have to do some cleanup for flash on the minis, but that's not really an issue. And as the years go on, flash isn't as bad as when they first started releasing plastic miniatures. BattleTech is also miniature agnostic, so you can use 3D prints, paper cutouts, and these nuts. And guess what? Your mechs from 20 years ago are still able to be used, unlike someone. And of course, like any other miniature company, more new mechs and vehicles get added each year. Price-wise, BattleTech also has a pretty cheap entry cost. For a beginner box, depending on where you buy it from, you can get a game of Armored Combat for $45 to $55, and any additional boxes of minis are $25 to $45. So realistically, if you want a decent force, the beginner box and a random battle group, clan, or inner sphere is all you need. I know a lot of people are put off by the whole paper simulator thing, but like I said earlier, flex sheets makes things so much easier since it's all automated, and you can also make D&D style BattleTech campaigns using the classic data sheets or even the Alpha Strike cards. BattleTech honestly gives you freedom compared to Warhammer, and there are many ways to play, so just give BattleTech a try or just pick up some mechs to paint. So before I move on to other games, and I know what my average watch time is for my videos, it's that time again. That's right, it's time for some audience interaction to help boost it to the almighty YouTube algorithm. So if you're enjoying the video so far, please like and subscribe, because it only helps this elaborate host of a channel grow. I also have a Discord server if you want to share your Warhammer minis or any other games minis, and I also stream 3 to 4 times a week. But let me know in the comments down below, besides Warhammer, what other miniature games do you play or collect? Or are there any you're interested in? So next is Trench Crusade. I've been sitting on the sidelines for a bit, and because the rules are free online, Trench Crusade looks like a really fun game. From what I understand and the rules I've read briefly online since they're free, Trench Crusade is also a skirmish game where you have 2 armies duking it out in the trenches, ranging anywhere from 6 to 20 models depending on your points restriction, be it their version of Crusade or one-off games. You have some of the same systems that used to be in 40k, like weapon upgrades and relics, along with the HQ units everyone's still familiar with. Instead of 40K's style of turns, it's like BattleTech with alternating activations, and there's also risky actions, and if you f up, congratulations, that model's turn is over. Also, from my understanding, there isn't really HP and armor. You roll 2d6, if you roll a 7 or higher you hit, then roll a 2d6 again, and if you get a 9 or higher, the enemy is just dead no matter how big and scary they are. And if you don't kill them, you get blood markers, which is essentially making your opponent's life miserable and with their models until you do kill them. Like messing with their aim and just making it easier to throw them off a cliff, so to say. The minis themselves look pretty cool. I'm probably going to get the new Antioch minis when I eventually pick up some Trench Crusade, since I like the way they look. But the biggest plus for Trench Crusade in my opinion is that the models can either be 3D printed if you're a 3D printing vegan, the most expensive mini files being the Battle Forces, which cost $30, and you can print them on demand. And now physical minis are up for pre-order for $50 per Battle Force. Again, still way cheaper than Warhammer will ever be. So for the cost of one Warhammer army, congratulations, you now own every single Trench Crusade army currently available. It's almost like what Trench Crusade is doing is the future of wargaming. Next is BLKOUT, which is pretty much just legally distinct Titanfall, and also the rules are free online. So BLKOUT uses data cards for the model's information and statistics, with everything like loadouts, special rules, and also specialists in a unit because there are grunts and specialists apparently. Skill checks go off of a d10, so you roll 2d10 when making a skill check, and a 10 is a critical success, which counts as 2 successes. So you want to roll higher than the model's skill for a success. Movement is similar to any other wargame with hints of BattleTech and Warhammer in it. I'm not really sure how the health system works, since I see armor and damage in the core rules, but I'm not really sure if this means that after armor has been pierced, that unit dies, because I see it says when a model fails to prevent damage you mark the number of damage on the card. It's just I'm not sure how much damage they can take. I also see in the rules it says when the damage track is filled, the unit is destroyed. Well, where's the damage track on the card? Is it this or this? I'm not really sure, to be honest. If you play BLKOUT, let me know in the comments down below. Then, like BattleTech and Trench Crusade, turns play out based on activations, so each player alternates activating units. It's almost like a game is fun when your units get to do something instead of just dying turn 1. Then there's also reactions, data attacks, special rules, and actions, along with the rules for titans and vehicles. You can play a skirmish game, and there's also larger games you can play where the rules are slightly altered, but I'm here to talk about the miniatures. And man, do they make me want Titanfall 3 while they are a bit more expensive compared to BattleTech and Trench Crusade. Honestly, I could care less because this is peanuts when you compare it to Warhammer. To determine the model count of a game, this chart right here helps to understand this, since a group is counted as a number of models, but it looks like an average game should be a group consisting of 7 to 9 models, and actually this is just a slightly more expensive BattleTech when you think about it. So currently right now there's 4 factions in the game, being Harlow, Manticore, Boone Recon Force, and Target Practice. Sorry, I mean the UN. But what about the Titans? Well, in BLKOUT they're called Dusters, and I kind of just want to get them if I'm gonna be honest. And like I said earlier, if you look at the models really closely, they are literally just Titanfall units but legally distinct. Also, the minis are made from cast resin. And judging from the quality of the minis I've seen around the internet and in my Discord server, all you really need to do is clean up the mold lines, but aside from that, these models look really nice. And since they're made of cast resin, you would think they would have a bunch of issues and are also really expensive for their quality. But I haven't really seen that as much of an issue from the minis that I have seen. So I'm looking forward to eventually diving into BLKOUT. Next up, because I know my audience, let's do a lightning round. First up is Gundam Assemble. We know nothing about how the game plays, but I think it's going to be a simplified version of Alpha Strike and Classic BattleTech, since it uses hex-based movement from the teaser trailer and just because it uses hex bases. But what I do see from the site that it also does use a D10 system. The minis themselves look amazing, and I expect the quality to be better than GW's, since Japan knows how to make great plastic kits that don't cost a kidney or your firstborn child. But I will be picking up Gundam Assemble for sure when it releases supposedly in July. That is, unless that's when Horus Heresy 3.0 releases. Then there's the various Star Wars games, which I frankly don't care about because I've become disillusioned with Star Wars at this point. And from what friends have told me, the minis are just as expensive as GW. Then there's Marvel Crisis Protocol, again like Star Wars, this time hero fatigue, although the minis do look very nice. so maybe I'll pick one up just to paint. Along with Fallout Wasteland Warfare, although I really just want to get Liberty Prime because
I am Liberty Prime. I am America.
Then there's World War III and Flames of War, which just focuses on tank and infantry combat just in different settings. And apparently there's also now Clash of Steel, also from Team Yankee. And just looking further on Team Yankee's site, yeah, there's a lot of games. So yeah, that's the other tabletop war games you should look into besides Warhammer, because yeah, much cheaper and they don't treat their customers like piggy banks that I know of. In the future, I might pick up a few miniatures here and there because I find I like painting miniatures more than I actually do playing. So if you have any suggestions, I'm all ears. Anyways, thanks for watching the video, and a huge thank you to the GIGAist of the Chads right here, the channel members and Twitch subscribers. So if you too want to be a Giga Chad and help fund these stupid ventures, consider becoming a member of either for access to the member section of the Discord and other things I still have to think of. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe, but I have to go make more terrible financial decisions, so I'll see you all in the next video, and remember, when you play Warhammer, being poor is a choice.